Our next one, Michigan State and Maryland. Ryan, you got your Terps hoodie on, so we'll let you start with this one. Michigan State takes them. It was at the Breslin Center, so I don't think this is a bad loss for Maryland. Obviously, one you'd want to get. I love Jahmir Young. I'll start off by saying that. I know some people think I hate him. I don't hate Jahmir Young. I think Jahmir Young is fantastic. I think Jahmir Young is like the best offensive weapon, possibly the only offensive weapon that this Maryland team has. Ryan, what were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever met anyone that doesn't like Jahmir Young. That's my glorious king, as I like to call him. He's the best, and like everyone just wants him to get some assistance, maybe just anything ever. Like I think you have 31. He had like just another day of him scoring 30. I think Juju had like 10 or 12, and then no one else scored above double digits. It's just the shooting is bad, the offense is bad. We have no identity, and it's bad. Like we should be a good team, returning a lot of experience in Willard year 2, who is not a young or inexperienced coach by any means in the broad scheme of things. It's pretty frustrating. It's exactly how I expected it to go, because Michigan State likes to play this kind of game. Also, they have been underwhelming all year, and they still looked underwhelming in this game, even though we got to win. We're moving on to the next one. Got the result. That's important, sure, but their shooting was bad. Their offense has been the same thing all year. I was at the Wisconsin-Michigan State game. That's the game I went to last Friday night, 2 Fridays ago, and they their offense is so stagnant at times, the majority of the time, with no movement, no motion, no nothing. And they have guys unwilling to shoot half the time. Like it's pretty bad. And it really, really limits their ceiling and what they can do in everything in regular season and postseason. 2 underwhelming teams in the Big Ten, one less underwhelming than the others. I think it's a pretty good determination of it.
Yeah, I mean, I really thought Julian Reese was going to come into this one. He only had 2 points, played only 14 minutes because he got into some foul trouble there early on. So I really thought Julian Reese was going to take Matty Sissoko and Carson Cooper and Kohler and Booker, whoever they threw down there in the front court. I think he just took him to town. But at the end of the day, only 2 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. Like I said, 14 minutes. So I think that was the part of it that really surprised me. I mean, not surprised me. Obviously, when he gets in foul trouble, they're going to take him out. But I thought he was going to be a key piece to the win here for Maryland if they were going to get the win. But I just don't think he ever really got the opportunity. Those early fouls and had to spend time on the bench. And really, when you have those fouls, you never really get into a rhythm. Kent, I know you're like our expert here for Michigan State and Steven Izzo and all that stuff. So we're just going to give the floor to you, and whatever you have for us, go for it.
Well, I was going to start with the foul stuff about Julian. No excuses, Julian. My daughter played last night, and she had 2 fouls in the first minute of the game, and she still scored out. They actually score out in her league. If you score 16, you're not allowed to score anymore. So she was able to right the ship, and, he should be able to as well. If she can do it, so can Julian. You know what I mean? No, but Malik Hall, man, I like Malik Hall a lot. I thought that like the beginning of the year, they just needed so much more from him, and he's kind of taking. It just looks like he's playing a little bit more free, like there's less pressure on him. So seeing him do well down the stretch was a big part of this game. Jahmir said a few weeks back, "Stay with us." That's what he said. He tweeted that out, "Stay with us." And that has stuck with me ever since he said that. And I'm like, I'm going to do this because I love watching him play basketball so much. I'm going to listen to him. I'm going to stay with you guys. But I have to say, Jahmir, the next 3 games, you might lose me, man. I might not be able to stay with us. It's Rutgers, at Ohio State, and Iowa. I feel like Maryland has to win all 3 of these games for me to be staying with him. I think that they have to win all 3. So big part of their schedule coming up, all 3 winnable games for them. I'm really interested. I like Maryland a lot. I don't have a Maryland hoodie on right now, but I love watching them play. And I would just, I want to cheer for them, but they're so easy to cheer for one game and then really frustrating the next game. And this is just one of those frustrating games. But for Michigan State, like, I think that despite, the offense being stagnant or whatnot, I think that they are starting to turn it's kind of what we've always expected, JR. We've been talking about this for a while now. Like, they started out so bad, but like they always figure it out. And it seems like now they're starting to figure out how to win, at least despite how ugly it might be in a few of these games.
Yeah, no, for sure. Jahmir has figured it out. I don't know if everybody else has, but Jahmir has.
I'll talk about Michigan State.
Oh, Michigan State. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
that was a question I was gonna have later, but Jeff brought up something I was gonna bring up to Ryan, so we'll just bring it up now. Harris-Smith scoreless was big
Yeah.
also. Ryan, I don't have any words for Deshawn Harris-Smith anymore. He was gonna be such a big piece to this offense. I felt not like a huge piece, I guess, but he was going to be a piece to this offense that was gonna help them thrive, take some of the pressure off of Jahmir Young, so he didn't feel like he has to do everything. And then in this game, Jahmir Young has 31 and he has 0. What's the deal with Deshawn Harris-Smith? What's going on? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, his shot was never a strength. Like, even watching him and scouting him out of high school, like I was like excited for him to come because he brings so many physical tools and athletic tools defensively, and even driving going to the basket. And he has a lot of offensive upside. Always knew that was a downside. It has been a huge downside, like crazy big downside. He's asked to shoot at times every game because he has to. We have no one else. Jamie Kaiser has been so hot and cold and can't really play him all the time. So it's frustrating. He looks lost. I think it's a confidence thing at this point where the shooting is relaying to everything else and him not wanting to have the ball in his hands as much and then not driving because guys aren't going to have aggressive closeouts, so he can't attack that and get downhill and pass his defender, which is what he does so well. If you think he's going to shoot, you have to step up and then put a hand up, then he's going past you, where he can't really do that right now. Yeah, Jeff's right. I mean, if him going scoreless is a problem. Him and felt like everyone went scoreless. I said Juju before. I meant Dante Scott was the only one that scored double digits also.
Yeah.
But which Dante's a solid player. He's going to give us a decent amount basically every game for the most part. He's frustrating at times also. But yeah, it's another wrinkle in the story for Maryland. Ken said like he's not wearing the sweatshirt, but he likes watching them. I'm wearing the sweatshirt. I don't enjoy watching them. It's the weird part. So I don't know.
I like Maryland. Hey, what about Noah Bachelor? How come he's not getting any minutes then? Like, I feel like I saw him in a few games ago, and I was like, okay, finally he's in. Like, I'm excited to see this guy play. If you could put somebody out there for 24 minutes that's not going to score, why not get this guy some minutes?
You might as well. Willard wants to play Jahari Long what feels like 40 minutes a game. I like Jamie Kaiser, so I want him to stay heavily in the rotation, especially at this point where keep the freshmen and keep the young guys in. Make sure we try to give them something to look forward to for next year. Try to get them to stay also. I have no answer. I'm not Kevin Willard. I wish I had an answer. He's not. Noah Bachelor is not going to give us consistency that we need. But at the same time, like you're saying, there's no harm in putting him in for a 5 minutes, 10 minutes game.
You know, I was going to ask about Jahari Long too, because at the end of the day, like, if you can't put a guy in for 30 minutes and only get 2 points. Like, I get there are some guys that, like, you know, scoring is just not their main thing. But, like, when Jahmir Young is out there literally just being Superman, doing everything, it's like at a certain point, somebody has to do something to help out here. Ryan, we got another question from Terps guy. Anytime Juju is out there for an insane amount of time, the game is practically over.
Yeah.
I don't know it's tough with Juju. I like Julian on the defensive end a lot, and he does really good things on offense sometimes. But Ryan, what do you think of Juju out there?
It's right. He's Terps guy. First of all, shout out Terps guy, but he's right because we don't go into the bench with bigs. Like we just don't. So there's nowhere to go where Dante will play the 5 and small ball a little bit, and then we can't defend at all. We can't defend like we need to, and switch and like we play against Simati Sissoko, and they have basically 7-footers, 6'10" guys that they play all the time. So it's like Michigan State does. So that's painful for us. Juju also offensively, I think he's good. I'm pretty sure he's still like top 5 in the country in free throw rate and fouls drawn, and he is one of the worst free throw shooters I have seen in Maryland basketball in the last decade. Like it's really, really bad to a point where I don't understand how it's that bad. And it just if he could hit free throws, guys would be more careful defending him, and obviously we would score more, be more efficient, of course. But people would defend him so differently, and they don't have to. They can just like play so physical with him because he's not going to hit the free throws. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, I agree. Jeff makes a good point here too. Reese needs to develop something with his right hand. Yes, that would be helpful. To have that. Kent, let's switch over to Michigan State a little bit. You were talking about Michigan State and possibly the tournament and those different kinds of things. Malik Hall has been better lately, was good in this game, 19 points, 5 of 9 from shooting and 1 of 2 from behind the arc. So he was more efficient in this one as well. Has kind of jumped up there and helped out. AJ Hoggard with 8 assists in this one. That was nice. What were your thoughts overall from just Michigan State? I know our guy Steven Izzo didn't get in, so that's depressing. But
yeah, I just don't understand that. I mean, we're going to talk about guys that should be getting minutes right now. It's Steven Izzo. I mean, the fact that he hasn't played in 7 games now is just I can't understand it. I think that Tom might be just delusional at this point, and maybe this has to be his last year, right? If he's not even going to play the best player on his team, just let him sit on the bench. I don't get it, but maybe he'll figure it out once the tournament starts. I do have to say, for Hoggard, excellent drawing that technical right before halftime, by the way. Jordan Geronimo was already one of my favorite players, and then he pushed AJ Hoggard right before halftime, and now he's just shooting up the list even higher because that was awesome. That was awesome. Shout out to Jordan for that one. But no, they're loaded. I mistakenly picked Michigan State to win the Big Ten before the season started. I thought that they had a legitimate chance to. Thought their roster up and down was the best one going into the season, and obviously I was wrong about that. But if they can start, I guess I feel like they have already started putting it together a little bit. It's just not what we expected going into the year, I guess, at this point. But, they still have Tyson Walker. They still have Malik Hall. They still got guys that can put that ball in the rim. That sounds so stupid. They can put the ball in the rim. We're obviously going to be able to do that. We're playing basketball. Jaden Akins, the guys can fill it up. They have guys that they remind me kind of Wisconsin. They're not as good, but they have guys any given night that can be their leading scorer in the same way that Wisconsin does. So that's going to bode well for them in March, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm back and forth on Michigan State. I chose them not to make the tournament early in the year, and then I was kind of like, well, maybe they will, and then they struggled again, and I was like, no, they're not, and now I'm kind of back on. I'm like, well, maybe they will. Maybe I'm going to lose my bet with Tricky. I don't know. Ryan, you do the bracketology and stuff like that. Do you think Michigan State has a chance? Yeah, I mean, obviously they have a chance, but do you think it's likely Michigan State makes the tournament? What do you think?
Oh, awesome.
Uh-oh, there goes Ryan. He didn't want to answer my question.
Yeah, he didn't want to talk about Michigan State.
Yeah, he was like, oh, we're done talking about Maryland. Get out of here. No, I think Michigan State is so hard to predict because, like I said, they struggled there for a while. And yes, they struggled against good teams. But then, they, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of their last 6. They're turning it on at the right time. There's Ryan. Did you hear my question before you left, Ryan?
I did not. I had some technical difficulties.
You're good. I was asking, you do the bracketology and stuff like that. Michigan State has looked much better as of late. They kind of were looking not so great there at the start of the year, but 5 of their last 6. Do you think they're going to make the tournament? And if so, what seed line do you think they're kind of going to be around?
Yeah, I think they're going to be one of those teams, like you always see like 1 or 2 power conference teams that has like 13 losses or something like that, 14 losses, and they don't break that 20 win, but their metrics support it. I get it. It makes sense. And everyone's up in arms about why is 19-13 Michigan State in the tournament and 26-4 Drake, who just missed the MVC final, like it didn't get in, and like they're really good also. Like, listen, everybody, it's not how it works. The selection committee has like a whole thing. I kind of agree in some way in like a theoretical sense, I guess, but they're probably going to be in. Their KenPom rating, their net rating are really, really high, even though they shouldn't be. Their strength of record, which I think is probably one of the better metrics to go by, is not high at all because they don't win a lot of games. They have struggled this year. They're going to be in. I think I have them around like 11, pushing 10, or right between there right now. Again, based on how the selection committee deems their bracket and their seeds line and stuff. But what's to say they don't continue on a decent path and push up to an 8 or 9 or maybe even a 7 like they did last year, and they were heating up at the right moment. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, Michigan State's here again, and they're going to take down one of the big boys in the second round. So I wouldn't put it past them, even through their struggles, because they were better at this point last year than they are now this year. But if I had a gun to the head, yes or no, they will be in the tournament. Yeah.
If Drake wins 26 games, Ryan, and they don't make the tournament, would you say that's God's plan?
Wow, that was pretty good. It took me a second too. I was like, I'm thinking about Drake Bulldogs. Yeah, I guess it is. Got to leave it in his hands.
That's all I wanted to know.
God just takes over the selection committee and makes it his plan. So, I mean, Michigan State, they just play such a tough schedule. And to me, sometimes I think that's overrated because it's like, oh, you played a tough schedule. And it's like, okay, well, like, would they still have won games even if it wasn't like a quad one game or something like that? I mean, obviously 7 of their 8 losses are quad one losses, so it's not like a bunch of their losses are bad, and you can look at it and say that wasn't good. But at the same time, some of these losses, they didn't look very good. I mean, they lost by 14 at Northwestern, they lost by 15 at Wisconsin. So some of these they're not exactly keeping as close as you would like, and there's just times too where at home against Wisconsin they only scored 57 points, 70 to 57 in that one. So to me, it's perplexing. I feel like at the end of the day, if they are kind of on that bubble line, the committee's going to give it to him, right? I mean, it's Tom Izzo, he's got the streak and everything else. The committee's not going to deny that, right, Kent?
Yeah, I will say, though, the streak is over. They were in the play-in game and they lost. So they did not make it that year because they did not play into the tournament. So the streak was already over. But they have a massive game coming up on Tuesday at Minnesota. And that's a game that, sorry, my phone's ringing. I did not think was going to be a massive game going into this year, or maybe even just a few weeks ago. But Minnesota's playing good right now. I know we're about to talk about them and them going on the road to the barn. I'm excited about that little midweek Tuesday night specialty game here. Michigan State at Minnesota. That's something I'm excited about. Is that bad? Should I not be excited about that game? Because I am.
No, I love watching Elijah Hawkins play, dish the rock around, and Dawson Garcia is one of the better scorers in the Big Ten. I just don't think he's on a team that gets enough credit for it. So one last thought before we move on to them, because Jeff is putting it out there. Ken Palm has MSU at 17, offense efficiency at 29, defense at 18. So yeah, you're exactly right, Ryan. They have the numbers to back it up, and if the selection committee likes the numbers as much as we think they do, he's right. They'll get in.
They have a thing called the eye test. If you look at the legal parameters, how they select teams, the last thing says, like, it basically says the eye test. It explains if they deem if they use it for like injuries and stuff too. Like I think Mawat Mag was a reason why they didn't put Rutgers in last year, and like, oh, the eye test. Like Tom Izzo's on the sideline. I like use my eyes to see that. So that the eye test, they're good. They legitimately have that in there, so that they can do whatever they want and they have whatever reason they want, because there's nothing quantitative at all to that. They're just like, yeah, no, we're good.
So you're saying Florida State's not going to get in then?
Only because of the eye test. They have something against
brutal.
Yeah,
brutal
exactly.
for the Seminoles, man. It's a rough year for them.
Rutgers and Florida State need to like start a group together or something like that.
New conference.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Listen to the Big Ten Huddle. Please do like and subscribe. We appreciate that. If this was your first time listening, we are the Big Ten Huddle. We cover all things Big Ten football and basketball. We have a long episode every Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night, all at 9 o'clock. So come in, check us out, get in the chat, let us know what you're thinking. We would love to have you join us and learn more about the Big Ten.